Hello everyone, welcome to Tim Booker's channel. I hope you enjoy listening to books. Today, I want to discuss a book called How We Learn, which was published in 2020. The author of this book is Stanislas Dehaene, a renowned cognitive neuroscientist and a leading figure in the field of European brain science research. He has also been awarded the Brain Prize, which is equivalent to the Nobel Prize in neuroscience. In How We Learn, Dehaene answers a classic question: how can we learn more effectively? This book combines neuroscience, cognitive psychology, and computer science to provide insights into the process of learning. Unlike many other books on learning, the author not only has a background in neuroscience but also has studied mathematics, computer science, and psychology. He integrates these disciplines to explain how we should approach learning. For instance, the author draws inspiration from the learning algorithms of artificial intelligence, AI, and explores their relevance to human learning. When Tim discusses this book, he mentions the concept of reverse biomimicry, which compares human brain learning to machine learning. Computer scientists have designed AI systems by emulating the functioning of the human brain, making AI a form of biomimicry. Simultaneously, neuroscientists are interested in the progress of AI algorithms. Sometimes, computer scientists independently develop new methods to enhance machine learning efficiency, and neuroscientists realize that the human brain also functions similarly. Understanding how AI learns can, in turn, inspire us. This is known as reverse biomimicry. Furthermore, based on the latest research in neuroscience, the author reveals the underlying principles of human learning, which include attention, active engagement, feedback, and consolidation. These four aspects are likely familiar to you, but the author delves into their roles in learning by combining neuroscience and cognitive psychology. The book provides specific educational recommendations. Whether you want to improve your own learning abilities or gain better insight into your child's learning, this book is worth your time to listen to. Now, I will break down this book for you into 3 parts. In the first part, let's discuss the learning algorithms of AI and the insights they can provide us. In the second part, we will talk about the latest research findings on human brain learning. Lastly, we will delve into the underlying logic of learning and explore how we can learn more effectively or gain better understanding of children's learning. Alright, let's officially dive into this book now. First, let's talk about the principles of human brain learning that machines have been emulating. We know that AI relies on a set of algorithms, which essentially form its internal models. In essence, this is mimicking the human brain. Our knowledge in the brain is not scattered but stored in the form of compressed models. For example, we have a mental map of our neighborhood that we can recall with closed eyes. Similarly, when reading an English article, we engage our English mental models to comprehend the content. Both AI and the human brain learn by training their internal models, adjusting them continuously based on external feedback. Just like when practicing throwing a ball, we adjust our strength and distance based on the previous throw's outcome. In this case, our brain is adjusting parameters related to arm strength and angle. AI follows a similar process by continuously adjusting its models based on provided data and feedback. For the brain, activities like throwing a ball involve adjusting a relatively small number of parameters. However, most learning processes in the brain are much more intricate, requiring adjustments to hundreds or thousands of parameters. Many models within the brain are highly complex, such as language models. To understand a sentence, you need to comprehend syllables, words, grammar, and semantics in a hierarchical manner to grasp the meaning. To address such complex problems, the brain has developed multiple layers of hierarchical models, with one model nested within another, like Russian nesting dolls. The most elementary models understand syllables, and information is gradually passed on until reaching higher-level models that understand semantics. AI mimics this hierarchical structure of the brain by processing input data layer by layer, which is also known as deep learning. As you can see, both machines and the human brain learn by training layered internal models. This leads us to reflect on ourselves. Do we have a solid foundation of basic knowledge? When learning, do we form a knowledge framework in our minds related to the subject? Constructing a knowledge framework can be facilitated by using mind maps, as they align with the principles of hierarchical models in the brain. To train a model, feedback is essential. For the brain, feedback can be as simple as realizing that the last ball throw was off balance, or it can be feedback from people around us. In the case of AI, the humans training it provide feedback, a process known as supervised learning, where humans act as supervisors, determining if the machine's output is correct. When AI receives feedback that its answer was incorrect, it adjusts its parameters and corrects the error. However, for machines, utilizing feedback for learning poses a challenge. Sometimes, through a series of feedback, machines may find an optimal solution, but we cannot be certain if it is the global optimum because there might be better answers elsewhere. Machines might overlook those better answers, just like when you find a great bargain in one store but miss out on an even better deal in another store across the street. To address this problem, computer scientists intentionally introduce random variations or noise into algorithms or add noise to the data. This allows algorithms to explore further and discover if there are better answers, similar to genetic mutations in biological evolution. Sometimes, change can lead to surprising outcomes. For us humans, learning is also similar. If you enjoy reading history books, it's still beneficial to occasionally explore books from various fields, engaging in random exploration. Curiosity that arises during this process is a significant driving force behind human learning and innovation. It applies to exploring various potential solutions to mathematical problems or improvising a musical composition. Randomness plays an important role, even during idle daydreaming, where a sudden spark of insight might occur. As you can see, the various methods of machine learning we discussed earlier draw inspiration from the principles of human brain learning. We just may not be consciously aware of it. By understanding these principles, we can consciously reinforce them. For example, just like machines continuously train themselves with feedback, can we absorb feedback from others without being influenced by emotions? Furthermore, are we curious about new things? Are we willing to engage with different domains and introduce randomness into our learning, as Professor Wang Wenbin mentioned in his interpretation? By making these comparisons, we may find that our learning attitudes are not as good as machines in many cases. Therefore, as machines learn from us, we should also learn from machines. Now that we have discussed the insights AI can provide in the context of learning, what else can we learn from this book? Next, let's talk about the latest research findings on human brain learning in the book, How We Learn. Firstly, the author presents a somewhat counterintuitive notion that the infant brain is not a blank slate. While we often believe that knowledge is acquired after birth, in reality, when we are born, our brains are already preloaded with a significant amount of knowledge. This knowledge is innate and doesn't require deliberate learning. For example, infants naturally possess some knowledge of physics. By a few months old, infants understand that objects don't disappear into thin air or simultaneously appear in two different places. Researchers have conducted experiments where they perform tricks using props in front of infants, such as making a ball pass through a wall or making a small ball appear to disappear suddenly. Infants display surprise when these tricks violate the laws of physics, indicating that they possess basic knowledge of physics. So, the next time you get frustrated when a baby repeatedly drops a spoon to the floor, take note that they are just conducting physics experiments. Apart from physics knowledge, the author also provides experimental evidence that infants are innately equipped with some knowledge of mathematics, biology, language, and more. Additionally, there is compelling evidence from precise brain imaging techniques, such as functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, that scanned infant brains exhibit almost all the same neural circuits found in adults. Therefore, the infant brain is not a blank slate. When Professor Wang Wenbin interpreted this concept, he used a phrase from Buddhist scriptures, stating that every person is born complete in themselves. You have the seed of learning within you, just like everyone has Buddha nature. You also have a capacity for learning. Except for special cases like developmental disorders, our brains have the same initial structure at birth, sharing a set of learning algorithms. Of course, there are individual differences, such as variations in the folding of the cerebral cortex, but these differences are only a matter of degree. In addition to the innate knowledge we are born with, another variable that shapes the brain is acquired learning. Compared to innate hardware, acquired learning has a greater impact on the brain. Our nervous system is composed of neurons, and the synapse is the point where two neurons connect and communicate. Our brains contain approximately 10 million synapses, which are like the powerhouses of the brain. As we continue to learn, the synapses are continuously activated, and the productivity of these powerhouses increases. Some synapses become larger or even duplicate, enhancing the strength of connections between the two neurons. As learning progresses, the shape of the neurons also changes. Neurons grow like trees with branches of knowledge. During learning, this tree experiences a growth spurt. Whether it's learning a musical instrument, reading, or practicing a sport, our cortical thickness increases, and the connections between cortical regions become stronger. In terms of children's education, there is a consensus that learning has an optimal period. This consensus is correct, as the brain indeed has a sensitive period of development when it exhibits the highest plasticity. The number of synapses in the brain of a 2-year-old child is twice that of an adult. Useful synapses are preserved during the process of growth and development, while unused synapses are pruned. Many brain circuits close a few months or years later. For example, the visual area of the human brain develops well by the age of 2, and the auditory growth period ends around 3 to 4 years old. Social skills follow a similar pattern. Research has shown that if a baby does not receive good care and sufficient interaction with others before the age of 20 months, they are likely to face social difficulties later in life. As we age, the brain's plasticity gradually decreases. Taking foreign language learning as an example, research has found that the ability to learn grammar starts to decline from adolescence and rapidly decreases at the age of 17. Additionally, the later one starts learning a foreign language, the more likely they are to have an accent and grammar errors. So, according to the developmental rules of the brain, there is an optimal period for learning a foreign language. However, although our learning potential diminishes, it doesn't disappear entirely. The brain remains resilient. Even at the age of 50, one can still learn to play a new musical instrument, albeit at a slower pace. Therefore, creating a rich and stimulating early learning environment for children is crucial. Children who are read bedtime stories tend to develop better language circuits than those who aren't. Children born into bilingual households develop stronger language processing abilities in their brains. Whether it's learning words, listening to stories, or playing puzzles together with children, engaging them in various discussions, providing a stimulating environment allows their brains to retain more synapses and develop more flexible and enriched neural circuits. However, the plasticity of synapses alone is not enough to explain the extraordinary learning abilities of humans, as most animals also possess this plasticity. Even barn owls exhibit synaptic changes. The author believes that the exceptional learning abilities of humans can be attributed to 4 main functions that emerged during our evolutionary process. These functions serve as the 4 core pillars of learning: attention, active participation, feedback, and consolidation. Next, let's talk about how these 4 core pillars play a role and how we can utilize them to improve our learning efficiency. Let's start with attention. Why is attention so important? It's because our brain's resources are limited, and attention helps us deal with information overload. Attention acts as a massive filter, helping us determine what information is important and allocating resources to focus on that core information. Traditional AI is slow because they haven't learned how to pay attention. They waste a lot of time analyzing all the data instead of filtering and focusing on relevant information. It wasn't until 2014 that researchers applied attention to artificial neural networks, significantly improving the learning speed of machines. For example, in AI image recognition, the resources are concentrated on the object to be identified in the image, temporarily ignoring other pixels. This improves the overall operational efficiency. Learning can only happen when we pay attention. Different pieces of information enter the brain with varying depths. Some information may reach our senses but end there. For example, when a teacher is giving a lecture and we get distracted, we can hear the teacher's voice but it doesn't enter our minds. The teacher's words get trapped in our sensory recordings and fail to reach the prefrontal cortex responsible for cognition and thinking. Only when we truly pay attention to what the teacher is saying can the information be transmitted to our prefrontal cortex, generating neural impulses that change our brain structure. This is how we remember what the teacher said. Therefore, attention is a necessary condition for learning. Once we pay attention to certain information, it is the brain's executive control system that processes the information. This system serves as the brain's central hub, located in the prefrontal cortex, responsible for supervising brain activities. However, the executive control system can only handle one task at a time and cannot simultaneously process two modes of thinking. That's why humans can't multitask unless one of the activities is highly automated and can be performed unconsciously without using core brain resources. For example, we can listen to audiobooks while jogging because running has become a highly automated activity. So, is there a way to control our attention? The good news is that the executive control system can be trained. In fact, self-control is not innate. This system takes about 15 to 20 years to develop and mature. From childhood to adolescence, our executive control system slowly develops, and we gradually learn self-control, deciding what to do and what not to do. There is an interesting experiment that demonstrates this. Researchers hit a toy at point A and let children under the age of 1 find it several times. Afterward, the children remembered that the toy was always at point A and would go there every time. Then the researchers moved the toy to point B, and although the children knew they should go to point B, they still went to point A in every trial. Why is that? It's because the children formed a habitual impulse to go to point A to find the toy, and they couldn't resist that impulse. It's not that they lacked the ability to judge the object's location, they lacked the ability to control their own behavior. By the age of 1, children no longer make this mistake because their executive control system has developed more fully. Therefore, it's during childhood that parents can start training their children's attention. Learning to play a musical instrument can cultivate attention. For a child, playing a musical instrument requires coordinating both hands, finding the right rhythm, and controlling their gaze, which is not easy. Learning a musical instrument during childhood can impact our attention neural circuits. The auditory cortex of musicians is thicker than that of the general population. Besides learning a musical instrument, playing video games is also a way to improve attention. Many parents don't allow their children to play video games because they believe it distracts their attention. However, in this book, the author presents a somewhat counterintuitive view that video games can actually enhance our focus. When our brain is stimulated and becomes alert, it activates the neurons in the cerebral cortex, restoring plasticity. Research also shows that after playing action video games for 10 hours, our visual detection ability and the ability to concentrate on targets improve. Look at those skilled gamers, their ability to assess the situation and their manual dexterity are astonishing. Of course, video games have their downsides and can lead to addiction and other issues. Fortunately, we have other choices, such as reading a novel or watching a movie, which can also enhance our brain's plasticity. All animals, including humans, have an attention system, but there is a unique aspect of the human attention system, which is shared attention. It means that humans pay attention to what others pay attention to. When a baby hears a sound, their initial reaction is not to look for the source of the sound but to seek the eyes of adults. Then they look at what the adult is looking at or pointing to. This is called shared attention. When a mother looks into her child's eyes and teaches them the word mom, the child quickly learns it. However, if the same word is played on a phone repeatedly without the mother's involvement, the child won't learn it. Shared attention is especially important for parents and teachers. Children judge what they should learn from your attention. Therefore, when giving something to a child, eye contact and gestures are crucial. That's why online classes are less effective than in-person teaching. Successful speakers always use eye contact and gestures to let the audience know where their attention is focused. That concludes the discussion on attention. Let's talk about the second pillar of learning, active engagement. Here, active refers to cognitive engagement, which means generating hypotheses in our minds. When we want to learn something new, our brain needs to actively form a hypothesis before confirming its accuracy through teacher explanations or various channels. Active participation in any activity is driven by curiosity or the desire for knowledge. For our brains, discovering previously unknown information is rewarding and triggers the release of dopamine, making us feel happy. Learning something new gives us great pleasure. However, a common issue is that we are not curious about all knowledge. This is because curiosity is determined by the gap between what you already know and what you want to know. If the gap is too small, you may find it uninteresting, and if the gap is too large, you may feel overwhelmed and back away. This explains the phenomenon of quickly losing interest in something. Our brain automatically evaluates the learning speed. If something is particularly difficult to grasp, curiosity may shut down. Therefore, it's not about familiarity or novelty alone when it comes to new knowledge, it's about finding a balance between the two. For teachers and parents, this means designing a reasonable teaching hierarchy for children, understanding their current level of knowledge and the range of their curiosity. Providing stimulating and age-appropriate questions can help maintain children's curiosity in learning. This exposes an issue in schools where children in a class may have different levels of knowledge. Uniformly teaching content that is either too challenging or too easy fails to satisfy the curiosity of both types of children. In summary, learning requires active engagement, generating hypotheses, and verifying them. Curiosity is a fundamental condition for active engagement, and it requires an appropriate learning pace. Now that we've discussed active engagement, let's move on to the third pillar of learning, feedback. We all know that immediate and accurate feedback is crucial for learning. Feedback is useful because, apart from curiosity, surprise is also a fundamental driving force for learning. People only tend to learn when events deviate from their expectations. Learning occurs when our brains take note of certain information, form hypotheses, and then receive incorrect feedback. This idea encompasses the three core pillars we discussed earlier. By incorrect, we don't mean that mistakes must be made. As long as there is a difference between our expectations and the actual results, feedback is effective, leading to a reduction in uncertainty and facilitating learning. Even if the uncertainty about a certain question decreases from 90% to 50% in our minds, it still represents effective learning. Testing is the most common form of feedback for students. While many teachers and students consider tests as mere evaluation tools, the author believes that testing is an essential part of the learning process and should be done regularly and frequently. A final exam at the end of a semester is not as effective as weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly quizzes. Why is that? Neurological studies suggest that when we engage in concentrated learning for several hours, our brain activity actually decreases. On one hand, repetitive information becomes boring, and on the other hand, our brain develops an illusion of mastery due to the ease of recalling the information in sequence. However, if we distribute learning over several days, our brain activity increases. Multiple tests help us continuously retrieve and consolidate the knowledge we have learned, filling in any gaps or deficiencies. Therefore, the more frequent the testing, the better the learning outcome. The final pillar we'll discuss is consolidation. Learning doesn't just involve acquiring knowledge, it also requires us to consolidate it in our brains so that we can retrieve it quickly. Consolidation is not solely dependent on practicing during the day, sleep plays a crucial role as well. When we sleep at night, our brain is not idle but replays the experiences of the day, reinforcing the knowledge we have acquired. Researchers conducted experiments where students played Tetris for several hours during the day, and their brains were scanned at night. The results showed that they actually experienced a series of geometric hallucinations in their dreams, with corresponding eye movements. During sleep, the neural circuits used during the day are reactivated, and their activity is 10 to 100 times faster than the actual experience. Thus, consolidation during sleep might be more effective than practice during the day. The effectiveness of consolidation varies with sleep quality. Apart from consolidating knowledge, sleep also plays a vital role in generating new ideas and perspectives. The knowledge we acquire during the day is disrupted and re-encoded during sleep, activating new thoughts. When we sleep, our brain rapidly processes various solutions to problems, similar to accelerated montage editing in movies. This is why some scientists have gained important insights in their dreams. For example, Einstein himself mentioned that he dreamed of riding a photon, which inspired his theory of relativity. Now, if sleep is so important, can machines sleep too? At first glance, this question may seem absurd, but scientists have actually designed several learning algorithms that simulate sleep cycles and plan to apply them to machines. The evolution of machines aims to better simulate the human brain. Therefore, while ensuring sufficient sleep for ourselves, we can also allocate some learning time before sleep, as it can enhance the effectiveness of learning. For children, even a short nap can help consolidate the knowledge acquired in the morning. However, the brain naturally adjusts a child's sleep needs based on daytime stimulation, so if a child doesn't feel sleepy, there's no need to force them to take a nap. And with that, we have completed the interpretation of this book. Learning is the greatest talent of the human brain. Machine learning is the process of mimicking the learning process of the human brain. People have endowed machines with algorithms that adjust internal models based on external data. On the other hand, the human brain possesses four abilities: plasticity, attention, feedback, and consolidation, which give us learning capabilities far beyond other organisms. Understanding the principles behind these four abilities allows us to utilize them for better learning. In fact, the rapid development of AI is evident in this book itself. Published in 2020, the author wrote it before the existence of ChatGPT. It took 6 pages to explain the abilities that machines lacked. However, now ChatGPT is capable of those abilities. For example, the book mentions that AI cannot understand abstract rules like humans or combine different skills to solve new problems. But ChatGPT can do that. Researchers have made it draw a stick figure using the shapes of the letters Y, O, and H. They have even made it prove mathematical theorems in the literary style of Shakespeare. ChatGPT now possesses abstract thinking abilities, can integrate knowledge from different disciplines to solve problems, and even understand human motivations and emotions. AI's progress in just 3 years has overturned the content described in the book. In a media interview in February 2023, the author stated that AI is rapidly evolving and iterating, while human education is not progressing at the same pace. Therefore, it is crucial for us not to waste time and continuously learn and improve ourselves in the face of AI's challenges. However, the author is not pessimistic about whether AI will replace humans. He gives an example of a child learning to read, initially struggling because their reading skills are not proficient. They need to engage various regions of the brain, such as the visual area and frontal cortex, and concentrate intensely to read. But through continuous practice and consolidation, the brain forms specific reading pathways, and reading becomes an automated and unconscious behavior. This conserves brain resources and frees up space for other purposes. The author suggests that the relationship between AI and humans may be similar. AI can take over some time-consuming, mechanical, and routine tasks, allowing humans to allocate their energy to more important matters. Humans will not be replaced by AI, instead, they will collaborate with AI more effectively. That concludes the essence of this book. Congratulations on completing another book. Thank you for your support and attention. Please subscribe to Tim Booker's channel, like, and share this valuable knowledge with your friends. Let's combine wisdom with practice to achieve our financial goals and create a better future. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.